All right, so as I'm recording this, the Cavs are taking on the Pistons, but we're going to look back at their last week, and this is has been one of their most solid weeks in recent memory, at least in my opinion. So we're going to take a look back at it, starting with last Thursday against the Grizzlies at home. They take this one as a W, as they did with all their games last week, 128 to 113. This was their normal starting five. Karis LeVert was out with a hamstring in this one. The game begins and it starts out super competitive. Looks like it's going to be kind of a bit of a rerun of their last game a couple weeks ago that came down to 1 point. The Cavs had a little bit of a breakaway a little bit later into the second quarter and into halftime, so maybe thought the Cavs would actually make this game kind of comfortable and come out with a comfortable win. But immediately, in less than 4 minutes into the third quarter, Memphis makes the game close again. They're starting to get momentum back on their side. It's starting to look like the game is going a little bit into the Grizzlies' way. But then something happens. Dillon Brooks with a pretty blatant cheap shot to Donovan Mitchell, pretty much right in the balls while coming down after a shot that he took. Donovan Mitchell then throws the basketball at Dillon Brooks and pushes him. They get into a bit of a scuffle, and both of players are ejected from the game. Keep in mind with this happening, Donovan Mitchell was dealing with a groin injury before returning for this one, so getting hit where he was hit probably was not very pleasant. Donovan Mitchell wasn't having a great shooting night up to that point. He was 2 for 11. Both of those makes from beyond the 3-point mark, so he had only 6 points before that happened. And that incident really seemed to spark the Cavs team that I thought was already playing well. They obviously had a really good first half, but the game was kind of starting to sway in Memphis's favor. But once that happened, again, that was about the midway point of the third quarter. The Cavs pretty much took control of this game after that and took a 12-point lead into the fourth quarter, and that lead wasn't really challenged by the Grizzlies. Cavs offense just kept humming along. The starting lineup, even with Donovan Mitchell getting ejected, was fantastic, with Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen all posting double-doubles. All were great in their own right, and Isaac Okoro wasn't an issue on offense. He was doing pretty good. Off the bench, Ricky Rubio and Cedi Osman were tremendous. Osman putting up more than 20 points, and Ricky Rubio really showing up in the fourth quarter of that game. A great response from this Cavs team to a pretty ugly situation. Donovan Mitchell making it known exactly how he feels about Dillon Brooks in his post-game press conference. Calling him a dirty player, basically saying that he's been cooking him for years, essentially. JB Bickerstaff kind of on the incident, saying that the Cavs have players that, quote, that they have players that don't start shit, but they don't want to run away from shit either. So some strong language from the Cavs coach, but again, when something like that happens, it's probably going to be met with a response. And something that the JB Bickerstaff decision he made, Kevin Love not playing, looking like addition by subtraction. That's a theme we're going to see throughout this entire week as we head on to Sunday's game against the Pacers in Indiana. They also win this one in pretty good fashion, 122 to 103. Same lineup, Karis LeVert still out. Indiana started the game out with some scoring, got the lead early, but the Cavs caught up in pretty short order for a close first quarter. Second quarter started out pretty close the same way. Miles Turner, Halliburton, and Buddy Hield giving the Cavs some issues, but once again, the Cavs taking over late in the second quarter, going into halftime with a 16-point lead. The second half comeback that the Grizzlies had would not repeat itself with the Pacers. The Cavs took this lead and ran with it on the road. Donovan Mitchell, again, not a great shooting performance. He is getting back from injury, though. 6 for 18 overall, 2 for 10 from three-point land for 19 points. But the team in general stepped up and had a really good game. Jared Allen and Mobley once again posting double-doubles. Darius Garland playing some of the best basketball we've seen out of him this season, consistently anyway. He's playing like he is getting mad about not being named an All-Star and getting snubbed from the All-Star game. And Isaac Okoro putting up 20 points in this one. Obviously Okoro's in the starting lineup, known more for his defensive efforts, but if he's going to put in 20 points, yeah, that's a great night for the Cavs. And Kevin Love still did not see any minutes. Again, it's starting to look a bit more like addition by subtraction for this Cavs team not having Kevin Love playing, which is a bit odd considering how just last year we were talking about how he was going through kind of a career resurgence, and now it just hasn't worked out the same this year. So we go to Monday's game against the Wizards in Washington, D.C. They win that one 114 to 91. Same starting lineup. This time, Karis LeVert was back in the rotation. There was some trade speculation about Karis LeVert, how he kind of suddenly went on the injury list. Maybe they were trying to protect him for a trade. That didn't happen. I mean, I guess the trade deadline isn't over, so that still could happen. But there hasn't really been, talks of that haven't ramped up yet. The game didn't really even have a competitive first quarter like the games previously this week did. The Cavs were just the better team throughout, like they should be. But again, with the road issues that the Cavs have had this season, it's nice to see some consistency. Once again, Kevin Love out of the lineup for this game against the Wizards. Isaac Okoro, I think I've highlighted him a couple times, but I feel like he has really been upping his offensive game lately. Obviously not to really an elite level, but to one that is passable, and that's what we're gonna kind of want to see from Okoro. We're getting to a point where we're not dreading him taking a three from the corner openly. Sometimes he's actually getting better at those as the season has gone on, so good for him. And he's definitely claimed that starting spot for his own as of right now. Things can change. Maybe Okoro goes on a cold streak like we've seen before earlier on in the season, and somebody else steps up in that starting spot. But as for right now, that is Isaac Okoro's spot to lose. For the standings update, the Cavs are currently 4th in the East. They have moved up from 5th. They are 2 games behind the 76ers, and they're 1 game ahead of the Brooklyn Nets, who they haven't played as many games as the Cavs, so that's kind of a thing there. They are 4 games ahead of the play-in tournament, so right now they are still keeping a bit of a comfortable distance there. The 2 road games that they won this week were nice. They are ones you would expect the Cavs to win, looking where the Pacers and Wizards are both at. But again, it's nice to see them actually get some solid results on the road. There has been road issues with this team all season, and this week, especially with that situation in Memphis, that really could have been kind of one where the team gets angry to a point where they get way too aggressive and undisciplined. But with the Grizzly game, when that thing with Dylan Brooks happened, they did seem to play with a little bit more anger and purpose, but that anger seemed disciplined. It seemed like one that was focused and one that was more driven to get better results on the court rather than revenge from overly physical and just dumb fouls and mistakes. That is really nice to see from this Cavs team. I do feel a little bit better about their standing in the NBA at this point, but again, it's not like everything's fixed as of right now. But I think the roster as constructed is in a good place. Maybe you could feel like it could be better, but it's really difficult to construct a perfect roster in the NBA. And I think at this point, the Cavs are probably as good as it's going to get. The reports are that they're going to be pretty quiet at this trade deadline. So if you have large issues with this roster, I guess you're just going to have to deal with it and hope for the best. But overall, the Cavs had a really solid week. I won't complain about getting 3 wins over the span of 7 days on 3 games. Obviously, if you do that, you're going to be perfect. And overall, if the Cavs keep racking up wins against teams that are worse than them, whether it be at home or on the road, then I have no doubt that they'll be solidly in a playoff spot, and they won't have to deal with that play-in tournament anytime soon. But again, that's if they keep playing at their current pace. And right now, I'm liking what I've seen from this past week. So thank you all for watching. If you did make it this far, I'll see you at the next one.